Banks are like buckets, or banks are like boats. Banks are full of money. That's why they call them banks. And boats and buckets are full of water. And everything that goes in the bucket is the same thing that gets pumped out of the boat hull, out of the bucket. What goes in must come out, just like a computer hard drive. Now, this great big giant money laundering mess that is world famous now, the giant money laundering swindles and schemes of Deutsche Bank, JP Morgan Chase, Credit Suisse, Danks, I can go all day long with Wells Fargo, Citibank, Goldman Sachs. It's all over the country, all over the world, this giant money laundering fiasco. Ladies and gentlemen, all the mortgages are traceable to the money laundering. In fact, the mortgages are the money laundering mechanism. This is how they launder the money. They invest in mortgages at high interest rates, preferably with subprime borrowers, and they get down payments and they get, all interest. The first, 20 years of a mortgage is all interest. So let's stop and think about this for a second. They loan out some money, or, arguably anyways, they invest in these mortgage contracts. And for the first 20 years of the payments, it's all cream. You're not paying down the principal at all. And then, if you stub your toe and, you get several million foreclosures, all of the money that was supposedly loaned out comes back in the form of a nice, clean, freshly foreclosed, freshly repossessed piece of real estate, or car, or truck, or aircraft, or whatever else they're lending on. Now, just like a boat that takes on water, just like a boat that has to be pumped out, banks are like buckets and boat hulls. The water that goes in is the money that gets pumped out. It's a closed system. So this giant money laundering swindle is directly traceable to the mortgages. This giant money laundering swindle is directly traceable to any of the lending that the banks do. Because the only money that the banks have to lend are the money that they're laundering. Because people aren't putting money in banks anymore. With the low interest rates, stop and think about that for a second. How many people put their money in a 2% interest-bearing, savings account? Very, very few dollars or, any kind of money gets put in banks for the banks to loan out. So where are they getting the money to invest in all these mortgages? Money laundering? Gee, what a freaking concept, right? There's a news flash for the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists and the investigative reporters and editors out of Missouri, and to the folks over at the Con and every other journalist in the world. Where's all this money being laundered, and how's it being laundered, and why is so much of this money being used to fund all the mortgages, making the mortgages traceable to criminal activity? Let's get real, folks. How can a bank that's laundering huge amounts of money and making lots of mortgage loans not commingle the money? I mean, this isn't rocket science, folks. I'm sorry. Now, I'm in the federal courts with it, and the Department of Justice, the FBI, FinCEN, FHA, HUD, and Fannie and Freddie Mac. Let's produce all your records. Let's see why there was a $25 billion mortgage settlement in the first place under the Eric Schneiderman, Eric Holder, and Barack Obama, Financial Fraud Investigation Task Force. I mean, what was the task force investigating? What I blew the whistle on? You see, ladies and gentlemen, everybody knows I'm the whistleblower, and I blow that whistle every day, nice and loud, all over the planet. And for some odd, crazy reason, now we've got this giant, mega, massive freaking money laundering thing coming out after years of me writing about it and years of me raising hell about it in the federal courts. Years, many years before the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists and BuzzFeed came out with this, well, it's what I tipped them off to it. I'm the one that blew the whistle to BuzzFeed. I'm the whistleblower to the Investigative Consortium of Investigative Journalists. I'm the one that blew the whistle to them. So let's get real, ladies and gentlemen. Banks are like buckets and banks are like boats. You can't loan out all this mortgage money and be laundering money at the same time without using the laundry money to fund the mortgages. There you have it in a nutshell. Ladies and gentlemen, all the links and information you need are below, and as always, hasta la vista, we will be back.